Alright, so before we start here, I just want to let you guys know that I did use some packs, the military weapons silver and the stupid zombies. I'm using the stupid zombies just for the animations for this video. You can use any other animations. I recommend mix them out for free animations. And military weapons silver. I'm not sure if this is free or not. Got this a long time ago. Don't remember. Been using it for some projects here and there. But let's get started, shall we? So, I want to apologize for the keystrokes that you hear in the background. I have a mechanical keyboard. So I've gone ahead and took all the animations from them and retargeted the skeleton. Why don't I go ahead and show you how to do that first. So I have this project here, and inside are these animations. If you click on one of them, hold shift and click on the last one, it selects all of them within that row. If you right click it and go up to retarget animation assets and duplicate animation assets and retarget, you want to click on show only compatible skeletons, take that off, and then you want to find the game path for the skeleton of the character you're using. So in this case it would be the basic default mannequin skeleton. So I'll click retarget, and you'll see nothing has happened yet. That's because if you go back in the content, they've come here instead, because they're two separate files now. You just basically made a copy of them and give them a new skeleton to work with. I'm going to go ahead and put that into zombie animations because we're going to be using those. And I may or may not use the crawling ones. We'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that, show only compatible skeletons, take that off, select the skeleton I want to use, and retarget. It's important, I don't know if you saw in between there was two of them in the same pose. I believe the pose is very important. I'm not sure, but I do believe the reference is important in there. This one could not be renamed. That's fine, because there's already one there. So we'll rename this crawl. Pop that in there, because we know that's a crawling one. That'll just let us know that that's the idle for crawling. So if we have a crawling zombie, if we do decide to make a crawling zombie, but that's not really our goal today. So we're going to create a new folder here for the AI, and we're going to do the real basic AI we can by going to blueprint class, and we don't want to control the character ourselves, so we're just going to go on a character. I believe we want to name him something that we can easily recall in the future, so let's just do basic zombie, because they're going to be zombies, let's face it. So you start off with basically nothing in this area here, which we don't want. We want to give him some kind of visual indication that he's there. So we want to use the mannequin. I want to use the mannequin. You can use whatever you would like. And he doesn't set to the correct offset, so we have to set it ourselves. I go down, he starts up here at 0, drag it down. I do about 90, and then I rotate him again another 90, because he starts over here at the 0. Everything's all zeroed out. Alright, so we're gonna need to make a animation for him. So if you right click in the same folder that we have him, and let's do animation blueprint. We don't want to use a parent class, which is another blueprint that we've created previously. We want to create a new one. And since we're using the skeleton, the mannequin, that's what we select at the bottom half of the indications there. And then we're going to do, we're going to rename this zombie anim BP. Zombie animation blueprint. This is the blueprint for our zombie. This is probably not the way to do it, but this is the way I do it. I have, like I said, I have no experience in this field at all, just besides what I've learned on YouTube. So I go into the mannequin folder, animations, and I pull up the player's blueprint, and I go to event graph, and I want to copy this. Because you need some of the values that are coming from there, and you want to paste it. I use Control C to copy and Control V to paste. And then you want to compile, and you'll see we have a couple errors here. We don't have values set for is in air and the speed of the character, so we want to right click is in air. Let's just create a value for that, and then let's right click speed and create another variable for that, and click compile and save, and you'll see those errors have gone away now, and we now have is in air and speed. Now let's go where it says event graph up here. We want to do anim graph to the right of that in that tab. We can right click on here to the left of the output pose, and we want to type in state machine. We want to add new state machine. I like to try and keep things neat and organized, so I try and line it up the best I can. And we're going to double click on new state machine. We don't need to name it or nothing. And I like to click compile and save. Once in a while I'll run something that doesn't really mesh with the game very well, with the engine, and it'll be just me trying to go through and debug things, and the engine will crash once in a while due to something I've done. It was something stupid, and I would want to save what I've done so I can save up to that point, you know, before I try and figure out what you'll see after a long trial and errors that saving is often quite the best thing to do. So off the entry point, we want to add a new state, and we want to call this idle. And we want to go inside of idle, compile, and now we go to asset browser. We can see all the assets over here that are associated with this mannequin. And if you remember, we had associated these zombie files here with this mannequin. So we want idle, zombie idle. That's the idle that we had to do it with. And we want to drag that right into result, compile, and save. Go back to the new state machine, and let's go back to example map. Actually, go to our content, AI, and let's drag out our basic zombie, bring him into the level. He is still in the T-pose here, and that's because if you go to basic zombie, compile, go to the viewport, mesh, or you can click on his actual body himself, you'll go to the animation on the right side and click on animation class. We want to make sure to use that animation. So now click compile, and we click play, and we'll see that he is now standing there using his idle animation. But he doesn't do anything besides that, and we want more than that, because what's a zombie game if, you know, they're just standing around doing absolutely nothing and they can't do nothing to you? So we need to right click next to here, the animation blueprint, and we go back to animation, but this time we want to go down to blend space. We're doing a basic AI right now, so we're going to go to blend space 1D, because all we need right now is the direction, the speed of which he's going at, because we don't need him sidestepping or anything like that. He's just going to be running straight at you, if, you know, that's what we decide to do. So we want to do zombie anim BS. I know it sounds like bullshit, but, you know, blend space. And so we double clicked on it to open it up, and let's get a preview pose in there. Idle, and we'll save it. Actually, probably no, we actually don't even need that. I don't know why I even brought that up. Alright, so if you see here, we have this little grid like thing right here, and on the left hand side we have access settings, Now this green dot, if you hold shift and drag your mouse around, we'll see that it does move on an axis. So at the bottom we have 0 and we have 100. So we know that the axis goes from 0 to 100. So we want 0, and we go to our basic zombie, character movement, and we scroll down to walking. Where is it? Right here. We got max walk speed is 600. Why don't we go ahead and put that as 600? Now we're going to use 3 animations here. We're going to do walk right here in the middle. We're going to do run right here at the end. I'm going to take idle and drag that all the way in the beginning. Now if you hold your shift and you continue along the axis, you'll see that when you get when you start going up and the closer you get to the halfway point, he starts walking. The further you go past that, he starts running. And that's because he's going along the speeds. Now this speed right here is set in the middle, and that would be 300 according to our graph. So we have to remember that his walking speed will be 300. And let's name this axis speed, because that's basically what it is. And we're going to interpol it. We're going to put 1 so it blends a little bit better, and then we're going to save it. And that's all we really need to do in here. And so we go back to our animation blueprint, to the idle, where we had that idle animation. We're going to delete that, and on the right hand side we have our zombie animation blend space, and we'll connect that. And we'll notice this time we have speed, and if you look in your event graph, we've already established what the speed variable is, and that's this green variable. If we drag that out here and click on get and plug that into it, we'll now have a speed for him. If we click play, we'll see that he's still standing there, and yet he's not walking around, even though he does have the animations. We'll fix that. So we go into basic zombie and go to event graph. We want to right click and we want to type in custom event. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to avoid event tick at all costs unless we really need to use it for something. Event tick happens at every frame, and we don't want something firing off at every frame if we don't need it to fire off at every frame. So we're going to click compile, and now we have this custom event. Let's rename this custom event something along the lines of AI walk, because this is what this event is going to trigger. First, we're going to create a variable. We're going to call it is walking. I put no spaces in it. That's my preference. You can put spaces in if you want. I like to put a question so I know it's a question when I go to do it. Like I said, I like to stay a little organized. And we'll click compile and save. And now out from here, we'll go ahead and type in branch and click enter. And we'll drag is walking out and get is walking and get the condition. So as far as we have inside this, we have no way of doing this variable here. We have no way of changing it, which is a good thing. So on event begin play, we're going to AI walk, but I do want him to wait a few seconds. So if you click in between event begin play and AI walk and do delay, drag that up there, and let's give him like a 3-second delay, so that way we can see this animation and all this stuff happen. We have 3 seconds to be able to see it. So if on is walking is actually false, we actually want him to move. So we're gonna do AI move to. And so we have AI move to, and what this does is it tells the artificial intelligence, the AI, where to move. And we don't have anywhere besides 0, 0, 0. And if we go onto our map, one can only assume 0, 0, 0 will be in the center of the map. And we don't want that. We don't want them to always walk into the center of the map. So we're gonna click on basic zombie, and we're gonna scroll all the way. We're gonna type in self and get a reference to self. I think you can also drag it in. No, you can't. So we want to get a reference to self, and we want to get world location, and mesh is an alright one to do. It'll get the location of the mesh, and off the destination we want to get reachable, get random reachable point in radius. And the reason why we got this right here is because we need an origin point for this, somewhere where it says this is the center of the radius, and then we need a size of the radius, and we're going to go with something small, like maybe 600. And we want to leave nav data and filter class alone. And in pawn, we're going to go over here. We're going to right click self. We're going to duplicate that and drag that back over here. We're going to plug that into pawn and leave everything else. And now, before over here we have is walking, we want to set is walking as well. So that way this comes out as true, and if this were to accidentally get fired again somehow, it would come off as true and nothing would happen. So that way it wouldn't interrupt what is already happening here. And so on success we want to set is walking to off, because now it's at that location. I like to have an acceptance radius of maybe 25, 30 or something, you know, just in case. And then let's get a delay on this. Let's have him stick around that point for 3 seconds as well, before finally going to AI walk again. And we'll compile, we'll save, and this time we'll go back to the third person example map, click play, and you'll realize that he's still not walking around, and that's because we don't have a navigation bounds that he can set in, that he can walk in. So right now the game is telling him that he can't walk around because he's not allowed to. And so in order to tell the game to do this, we go to volumes, and then we go down to nav mesh bounds volume, and we're gonna pop that down right down in the center, and we're just gonna shrink it down so it's just a little bit like this. And the reason is because I don't want him going up here, and if I hit P on my keyboard it turns that area green. That means that is the area in which he can walk around in freely. Well, not really freely, it confines to whatever you set him the program to do. So we'll increase that to about the size of the actual level, and you'll see that because of the size doesn't go up higher than that stair right there, he won't go up there. So we click build, because, you know, I like to build my levels quite often. Don't ask why. When the project starts to get larger, I tend to do it less because of the lighting build. It takes forever. Alright, so now the building is done. We click play. We wait 3 seconds, and he should start walking around. Alright, well, the problem here, if we go to the blueprint, go back here, let's try turning this off. And he seems to be doing fine, so that was definitely the problem. So we'll go back to it. I don't want him to snap into it right away, so let's do a 0.1 anyways. And we'll go back to our example map, and we'll click play. And if you see now, he is kind of aimlessly running in different places. Let's slow him down just a little bit by going back to his blueprint. We'll go to character movement, and we'll go to his max walk speed. Now let's slow that down to 300, and we'll click compile, and now he was going to he's going to start walking at that 300 mark that we set his walk animation to be, instead of running a full sprint at 600. So we'll see now that now he walks to his destination. And it's a little short-lived, so why don't we go ahead and extend that radius to 2,000. As you can see, that 600 just wasn't wide enough, as big of a number as 600 is. And he'll just walk over to his location. It's a little off, so why don't we go ahead and drag this down to about 150, and we'll move his character movement also down to 150. I feel like it would match better that way. We'll click play. We'll watch him go. And look at that, we got our first zombie. I hope you guys tune in next time. For we're gonna actually start having the zombie damage us, and potentially after that we can damage the zombie. And I want to try and go through as much stuff as I can with you in a short amount of time. But if you ever want to know anything within my knowledge, of course, and perhaps I can make another video, a separate series, based on comments or maybe messages or whatever, just let me know, and I can actually do my best to explain things to you. Thanks a lot for watching the series, and I hope you guys tune in next time.